Hello, everyone, and welcome to What's the Tea with Gen X, Y, and Z. We are three generations, three perspectives, one cup of truth. So get ready for a refreshing take on hot button topics today. We're going to be brewing up a steaming hot take on today's most pressing issues, where we'll dish on everything from social justice to pop culture with humor, honesty, and maybe even a little healthy debate. We'll sip the tea, spill the honest truth, and find common ground across the generational gap. This show is informative, it's insightful, and it's guaranteed to stir the pot. So, hello everyone again. I am Dr. Melissa, and I'm representing the fabulous X Factor.
And what's up, y'all? I'm Amber, holding it down for us Millennials.
And I'm Zion, keeping it real for Gen Z.
All right, you guys. So let's dive right into our topic today. And it's one of those things that we had sort of mentioned and referenced in one of our previous episodes. And that is the whole topic of work-life balance.
Yes.
Is it a thing? Yes, it's a thing.
Very much so.
Yes. So today we wanted to talk about that because one of the things that I had shared in one of the previous episodes was how Gen Xers were really, I'm going to use the word pioneer because they always talk about pioneered social media. I pioneered hashtags. So I'm going to say work-life balance, I believe, was really pioneered by my generation. And to give you a little context as to why, my generation were reared by a generation and previous generations that believed in hard work.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't just about working. It needed to be hard work. That was just the test of strength and character. And it was a part of your identity. Are you a hard worker?
Right.
And you guys will hear that now. Sometimes you'll go to an interview and they'll say, what are some of your characteristics? And people will say, I'm hardworking. That was really one of those characteristics and qualities that my generation, and particularly my parents and grandparents, really stood on. You needed to be a hard worker.
Yeah.
And so for Gen Xers, we grew up under the umbrella of work hard. Work wasn't supposed to be easy.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be hard. And I'm not even going to get into the whole child labor laws things because I started working when I was 11. That had to be illegal somewhere. Somebody need to go to jail. But that didn't happen. But we came up, I think for Xers, we came up with that concept because really it was the realization that, my goodness, I'm working hard, but when can I play? Yeah. And so we really sort of came up with that idea of work hard, but then play hard. So for us, I think it's a matter of honoring the hard work that's so important and so ingrained in us. Also, the realization that sometimes you gotta not work. I'm still learning. What about you, Amber?
So for me, being raised by a boomer, my mom used to tell me when I was growing up, don't get sick because I'm not taking off. Now, yeah, you look back at it, right? And you're like, ooh, you couldn't even cough, sneeze. She was not going to take off work. Now, I mean, if I really did get sick, I know she would have taken off, but
Yes.
It was a rarity for her. It's like, do all you can to not get sick. So, watching that growing up because, work was something she had to do.
Right.
She knew if she didn't work, the bills wasn't going to get paid. I wasn't going to eat. She couldn't take care of me or herself if she didn't work. So she worked super hard for that.
Right.
So with me growing up watching that, I always told myself when I was able to work, I was going to make sure I had a work-life integration.
Right.
So, yeah, you can work, but you got to also have life too.
Right.
I wasn't going to negate the life part about it. I was going to always make sure I showed up to work, do my job, do everything I'm supposed to do within my job, work hard, do the job duties that I'm assigned, and go the extra mile if I can.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to also make sure that I incorporate life in that because I'm no good to a job if I'm not focusing on me,
right,
and being able to have a solid integration of both. Right.
So I'm going to venture a guess. If one of your kids gets sick, you'll probably take off.
Absolutely.
Yes. Gotcha. Good job. Yeah.
Absolutely.
What about you, Zion?
Well, it's just like you said. I love what you said about it's important to have that integration. I feel like as a society, we're under the misconception that they're exclusive from each other
Yeah.
when they both can be the same thing. Like if you pay attention to, like, I know I'm always talking about my generation, of course. There's a lot more opportunity now. I feel like people aren't misled by a concept that you have to just work instead of working something you're passionate about.
Right.
So it's all dependent on the individual. Like, so you almost can't compare. Because, for example, just throw an example out there, you can have a social media influencer who just loves social media, but they still receive income from it. So if they work 7 days a week, it's going to look a whole lot different than someone who's working a physical labor job who is not satisfied with their current situation.
Yeah.
7 days at that job or 7 days at a job you truly enjoy, it's going to be two different it's going to be two different things, two different circumstances. So we're a lot more focused and just prioritizing mental health. So it's important to, like you said, incorporate life into the work balance, actually establishing the balance. So
boundaries, you gotta have them.
You do.
I love that you said mental health.
Yeah.
I love that you said mental health because that is the key.
Yeah.
That we're talking about work-life balance, and we're not just talking about something frivolous. We're talking about being able to remain healthy,
Correct.
physically, mentally.
Correct.
And that it is very possible, believe it or not, when you don't have balance, anything that's off balance, I mean, even logistically, if you think about it, anything that's off balance is problematic.
Yes.
And so when we're so skewed to one end, and the fact that you brought up whether or not there's job satisfaction, now we talk about work-life satisfaction. And see, now I get into my geeky counseling therapy thing, and I'm not going to do that. But there's something to be said about doing something that you love and getting paid for it versus just working.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's all perspective. It's all perspective.
Yes,
right.
Yes,
and it's also a such thing is called burnout, right?
Yeah.
Where you're working so hard and mentally I want to keep doing it, but your body has to physically reset. You can't keep trying to overpower your body because we got to go to sleep, right?
Exactly.
And you got to get that rest so you can wake up and feel more energized and ready to go into life and conquer the world.
Right.
Exactly.
You keep going on constant go, that's not healthy.
Right.
So mental burnout is really mental and physical burnout.
Right. I'm about to say, and vice versa.
Yeah,
as well.
It's very much a thing, and a lot of us put that on the back burner when it should be forefront because it's very important.
Well, I'll tell you, as an employer, you're not getting quality work when a person has reached burnout.
Yeah.
You're not getting their best self.
Absolutely.
And so that's so true. I will say it was funny because we always talking about the generational differences. When we talk about work satisfaction for Gen Xers, I don't recall that even being a thing. Work was work.
Right.
It wasn't about whether or not you liked the job.
Yeah.
You worked because you needed to work.
Right.
You worked a job. You worked hard. A job was the mechanism and the vehicle by which you took care of your family.
Right.
That's what it was. It wasn't about, whether or not it was sunshine and rainbows and, you heard the birds twerking.
Chirping.
Oh, definitely ain't twerking.
Chirping.
I got the birds twerking. I'm sorry, y'all. The birds were not twerking, but they were chirping. Not my bad. See how that they don't see? I'm being influenced by the other generations. We never said twerked. The birds chirping. It wasn't about that. I'm gonna give you an example. My dad worked 40 years on a job. Both of my parents were very hardworking, but when I think about my dad, I can remember my dad being hesitant. He was like, ugh. He took 2 hours off of his job, 30 plus years, to attend his dad's funeral. And no sooner than we got to the gravesite, he was gone. He went back to work.
Ooh.
And the reason why was because work was ingrained. It was for us as Xers and our parents and those before us, a lot of your identity was steeped in how hard you worked and whether or not you showed up. And I'm telling you, if I would have asked my dad, do you like your job? My dad would have looked at me and said, why?
Right.
What does that matter? I don't have to like my job. My job is so that I can provide.
Right.
And so I'm going to throw out a couple of things that we were taught as Xers that maybe will help you understand how we were almost ingrained with this thought. The man don't work, the man don't eat. Period. It was never about whether or not you loved what you did. If you don't work, you don't eat. So we grew up with that, understanding that work was a necessity.
Right.
Idle hands is the devil's workshop. In other words, if you're sitting around doing nothing, you're up to no good.
Yeah.
So much for me. If I can remember times I would take time off from work, like a legitimate day off, y'all, and I'd be at home and I'd be like, I have to do something. So I have to organize the cabinets. Because to not do anything felt lazy to me because I had been so ingrained with that mindset.
Right. And I just want to say one thing briefly, and I'm going to let you go ahead and say your piece, Amber. But I love that you had said that he was defined about how hard he worked. You know, it's crazy how things have changed to now the general perception is if you were just defined how hard you work, people's like, hey, you crazy. You know, nowadays, you know, you receive you receive satisfaction when you're doing something you like to do. Now people's like, okay, what do you do? And how passionate you are about it, not exactly how much you work.
Yeah.
You know, so
no, that's actually true because somebody can tell if you are passionate about what you do just from the first couple of minutes of you talking about what you do for a living.
Right.
So I'm going around talking to individuals and let them know, I'm a substance abuse counselor.
Right.
And, I talk to individuals, empowering individuals to change their life and don't feel like that the substance is taking over their life, letting them know that they have a voice, right? And you can tell in the first few seconds of me even saying that, I love my job.
Exactly.
It's my calling, it's my passion. You can't say that for everybody.
Right.
So if someone is experiencing burnout, like you said, you're not getting a good product from them.
Right.
If someone really hates their job, they just there to collect a paycheck.
Exactly.
And you can see it in how their work actions are.
Yeah.
So it's imperative to have work satisfaction. It's imperative to have a work-life balance.
Right.
All of these things are imperative to even have a great career and to be able to say that you're doing what you love. Right?
Exactly.
Well, so the thing that you guys have done that's been good, and understand when I'm representing the X factor, I'm representing it historically.
Right.
But I tell you what I think has happened with us. To your point, we were raised with the harder you work, the better.
Exactly.
But now people say work smarter, not harder.
Right.
Like that is a thing. I say it all the time now.
Right.
It's like, hey, let's work smarter, not harder.
Right.
I think that for Xers, what we saw was our parents and grandparents. We saw people sometimes work themselves to death.
Yeah.
I mean, or get to the end of their life and have a lot of regrets because I didn't take the vacation. I didn't take the time off to go to the PTA or to have lunch with my kids. I didn't do some of those other things because I was so ingrained in the grind.
Right.
Listen, I missed it. There was a, I guess it's a demonstration that one of my professors did a long time ago, and it was about priorities, and it was about rocks, and he had a bag of big rocks, big stones, and then he had pebbles, and then he had sand, and then he had water, and the goal was to fit everything in that container, right? What happened is people would start putting in the pebbles and they would put in the sand, and then when they did that, they couldn't fit in the big stones. And you would almost think it's impossible to fit everything in this container, right? But what he did after that was to show that if you put in the big stones first, then the pebbles would fill in those areas, and then the sand would fill in those empty areas, and then everything fit, right? It was all about priorities, putting in your big stones. And so that's why this topic is so important. That's why we're going to keep on talking about it after we come back from this 30-second break. Now, what does that mean, you guys? That means don't run outside and try to check the mailbox, and you're not going to have enough time and you're going to miss something. You got like enough time to run to the kitchen like super quick, get you a sip of water. You should already have your tea.
Right.
But if you don't, get you a sip of water, maybe take a little bathroom break. That's your business, not ours. But come on back.
Please.
30 seconds, and we're going to dive deeper into how are we practicing what we preach? Like, how are we dealing with work-life balance? And so, very important topic. You don't want to miss it. See you in a bit.
Catch the wave of success with Standing on Business with Dr. Melissa. Unlock your purpose, align it with your entrepreneurial spirit, and witness your business thrive. This isn't just about authenticity, it's about building a foundation so solid, your business becomes synonymous with profitability. Tune in as we delve into marketing strategies that work and create an empire that stands on business. Because when purpose meets strategy, success is inevitable. Standing on Business with Dr. Melissa, where authenticity meets profitability.
Okay, so welcome back to What's the Tea with Gen X, Y, and Z. Before our quick break, we were talking about work-life balance and the generational perspective of what it was and how it came to be. But now, I want us to talk about, people always talking about concepts, right? I want us to talk about how we have integrated this whole concept of work-life balance in our own lives, or if we have. I don't want to assume that we have.
Right.
So I'm gonna kick it out with Z first. See, I like to mix it up like that. Tell us, work-life balance. What's your perspective as it applies to your own life right now?
Absolutely. Well, I'm very intentional on maintaining that work-life balance to a degree, because society will only give you so much leeway because of bills and stuff. But for me, for example, I have 2 jobs, but I still make it a point of emphasis when I do finish to give me time to recuperate mentally as well as physically, to get ready for the next day. Like I said, Gen Z, pouring on mental health and maintaining it, because
Amen.
what do you have? You don't have sanity.
Amen.
So,
Not that they help us with our mental health at all, right? But no, not that bad. What about you, Amber?
So what I have been doing is kind of similar to what Zion alluded to that he's doing is I'm very intentional when I walk the threshold of my front door. I am going to sit on my couch and I'm going to decompress.
yes.
I have allotted time for myself, at least 30 to 45 minutes to decompress. Now, in those 30 to 45 minutes, my kids will run amok. It is okay. Mommy is relaxing. You do as you please, but you're going to clean it up, whatever you mess up. So
Yeah.
I definitely have allotted that time to decompress. And my weekends, I try to make sure I get out to do stuff, even
Right.
if it's with myself, my children. I got to have some relaxation time.
Right.
And I tend to, if it's the nail shop, going to get a pedicure, going to get a fill-in, beauty things for myself.
Mhm.
I have found that is my time to relax and, let anything out and just me time. And it's been helpful, I can say, for me. I don't know about everyone else, but those are some of the things that I've been doing to bring in a good balance for myself.
Right.
Very good, and being intentional about it.
Very intentional.
Yes.
Got to.
For me,
Yes. What about you?
most people would look at my life and say I don't have work-life balance. Because you might get an email from me and it's 3 a.m. I think Amber got one this morning. Was it 3?
It was
3 a.m.
Not you put yourself on blast.
I'll put myself on
I was
blast.
gonna let you be great.
No. We're gonna keep it all the way 100, as millennial or somebody says. We're gonna keep it real. So people would look externally and say I don't have great work-life balance. Here's what I'm gonna say that might throw a little bit of a fly in the buttermilk. You never heard that, have you, before?
Never. I was gonna let you slide this time.
No, fly in the buttermilk. In other words, which means I'm gonna spoil it. I'm gonna stir the pot a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the things that might make a difference has to do with what you talked about earlier, with respect to whether you're called to something, whether you're passionate,
Right.
whether something keeps you up at night.
Right.
So for people looking externally would say, honey, you work all the time, and I do. 7 days a week, I'm doing something. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm big on my businesses. So I am constantly every day doing something to move the needle for my businesses. The reason why I don't feel it's out of balance is because for many, many years of my life, I don't feel like I knew my purpose, right? I was running a company and I was doing well and checking all the boxes and doing all the things. But I wasn't necessarily doing that thing that burns in my belly. And now in the last 2 years, I've really gotten clarity on who I am. Took some stuff that happened, some transitions sometimes that we don't want, but it's pushed me to a place where work feels like play. Like I really do feel like I'm playing all day long, like one big play date, right? I'm energized by it, and that might change a little bit as time go on, and I start to see the needle move on some things that I'm trying to do. But for right now, work energizes me. Dealing with my clients and my programs, I'm energized by that. So I will say to both of you, your point, and my mental health has improved because I'm no longer playing small. I'm no longer feeling like I'm asking for permission. I'm serving notice. I'm not asking anybody for permission to be who I am, right?
Exactly.
Authentically you.
Authentically you. But and to your point though, I will say I still do build in those things that that feed me.
Right.
Whether it's, yesterday I had a pedicure. Um, it was almost just out of it was just it won't even right to feel that good. I mean, so I do that as well, but I will say that there's something to be said. I'm the purpose prophetess. Find your purpose, and profits will follow you. There is something to be said for doing what you love, because when you do what you love, I am telling you, it does not feel like work.
No, you definitely
Right.
are right.
Yeah.
I love that wholeheartedly.
Right.
And and to your point where you were saying finding your purpose and doing what you love. So a lot of when I was doing research about the work-life balance for millennials and why they were saying that there was a need to incorporate both, because we want our own flexibility, right?
Right.
So a lot of millennials veered towards entrepreneurship because they thought, well, yeah, that's easier. But the only thing that you get with it is flexibility, but it's not necessarily easy, right? But when people see, people starting a company from the ground up, that foundation takes hard work and dedication. So somebody will look at you and be like you love to work. And I'm like, well, does she got a work-life balance? Yeah, she got a work-life balance. But when that company that she put all her hard work and dedication into that foundation, and it grows into something beautiful, now she can sit back and relax and chill.
Right. It's all perspective. It's like you said when you said your way of recuperating was going home and just decompressing. Absolutely. That might look different for someone else because they like, where's the socialization at? Except getting the meals, and we all have different ways of kind of having our life aspect in that work-life balance. Absolutely. So it's all dependent on the individual, to determine.
Exactly.
Not one person is,
because we all have different batteries. You know what I'm saying? Some people got iPhone 15, some people got 5Cs. You know what I'm saying? It all depends.
They still work, you think?
I don't know. That's the point I'm trying to make. And if it does, it's a very low battery. So the important thing is to do what you have to do to fulfill your own battery to preserve your own mental state. So that's the biggest thing.
Knowing yourself. So you guys, we'll round it out with this. Like anything, work-life balance is so important, and I hope we've made the case for why it's a conversation you need to have with yourself. Absolutely. To really assess where you are with that. And if you're out of balance, I'm going to say to you, get aligned. Get aligned, because even if you are working with no way of balancing that out, I'm going to give you a little secret. Don't tell nobody. People are not getting your best. Like, you're working, but it's taking you 3 times as long and as hard to do what would come easier if you were in some degree of what we call homeostasis and really feeling like there was balance and purpose to your life. Right. But you guys, here's what I'm going to say. This is the soapbox for the X factor. Just like anything, we take terms and then I feel like we abuse it. So let me talk a little bit about the abuse of the work-life balance.
Right.
Let me tell you what I think work-life balance is not. It's not an excuse to be mediocre.
Mm-hmm.
Work-life balance is not an excuse for you to say, well, I'm off at 5, and so I can't give 30 extra minutes to be excellent in what I'm doing.
Right.
I can't be a team player.
Right.
So for me, I think sometimes we take that, and I hear it far too often, where somebody's leading a team, a high-performing team, and it's like, well, hey, we need to work an extra hour to hit this metrics, and it's like, oh, I got work-life balance. What?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not an excuse for you not to push yourself,
Right.
Correct.
challenge yourself
Right.
to be excellent and to be great.
Right.
That's not what we're talking about. And for some people, that's a good way of saying, I punch in, I punch out whenever I don't feel like doing anything. And that's where my soapbox come in at, because it's like my daughter said something, and she was in college at the time. And she said something to one of our relatives who was sort of challenging her and really berating her for working so hard. It's like, oh, all you do is work, 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 work. Because it's amazing how people will kind of beat you over the head because you're a hard worker. Like,
Right.
okay, yeah. So this particular relative was saying something like that to her. And she may have been 21, 22, just finishing her undergrad degree. And she said to him, she said, you can work hard now and play later, or you can play now and work hard later.
Mm-hmm.
And that stuck with me. Some people are playing in their 20s
Yeah.
and having to work very hard in their 50s,
Yeah.
as opposed to doing the harder work now and then having some options, flexibility,
Yes.
choices, freedom later in life because you've laid the foundation.
Absolutely.
So, I don't know. Y'all think did that step on any generational toes?
I like that phrase.
I like that too. All in all, it's just most people that don't have the will to want to work hard, ultimately, in my eyes, are haters. Because they're just mad because, they're at a certain level and they just frowning upon people that strive for
Right.
more. And
Right.
it's nothing wrong with striving for more for
Right.
yourself.
No.
That's a component that not everybody possess, but I mean, you all got the will to want to do it, right?
Amen.
So,
Yeah. Well, if you're saying work-life balance for y'all, as we end this episode, we say work hard, play hard. But let me tell y'all something. Most of the time, not all of the time, playing costs money.
Yes.
Okay, vacations, trips, and all these social things you want. Some things are free, but there are things that cost.
It's limited when it's free.
Exactly. So what I would say is lay the foundation for the playing.
Yes.
And here's the thing. If you got nothing else out of this episode, which I don't know why you didn't. If you did not, I just don't even know. There's a way to integrate work-life balance, work and play,
Mm-hmm.
when you find something that you love.
Yeah.
So that working becomes playing.
Exactly.
And then I promise you, the traction that you get from that, ooh, I'm talking about magic. Magic. So I would behoove you to tap into that calling, that purpose, that thing that burns in your belly that you might be afraid to do and you think won't work, and people around you are telling you that would never work. People that can't do will always tell you what you cannot do. So tap into that thing, and then I don't know, working becomes playing, and then you're like me, I'm just playing all day. Okay, and people are like, quit playing. No, I'm playing all the time. So anyway, you guys, thank you guys so much for joining us for this episode. I want you to keep the conversation brewing. Remember, we got to ask questions. We got to listen to understand. And we need to acknowledge the unique challenges each generation faces.
Absolutely.
And here's the thing. We got to look for that common ground.
We do.
Because trust me, it's there. So until next time, keep sipping and keep talking. Tune in next week for another thought-provoking and entertaining conversation that bridges the generational gap, one cup at a time. See you next time.